All right, so my name is Alon, and I'll introduce myself a bit deeper in a second. With me, Sebastian Straub, our principal solution architect. Um, and before I start, I'll do some introduction of myself. Um, I'm new to N2WS. For some of you who know or don't know, I started tomorrow. It's going to be 5 months, and I basically joined the company, and the first thing that I did was to focus on you, basically the customers. I met a lot of the customers, spoke with a lot of you, heard a lot of conversations, recorded ones, live ones, been in very good discussions, and I pretty much learned a lot and heard some really great stories about how our product helped you save time, money, in some cases your jobs. But it's really been great, and we received a lot of feedback, and we have a huge roadmap for our next release. So I want to thank you for that. Um, however, um, I don't know if the audio is good. Can somebody do a GIF in the chat with thumbs up if you can hear me? Okay. No. Oh, okay. Yeah, mixed. Okay, got it. Thank you so much. All right. So after speaking to, I don't know, maybe 40, 45 people, thank you, a trend emerged in what we've learned about how you guys are using the product. And we saw that there are many of you who are missing on a lot of potential to save costs, and enable capabilities of the product that will help you recover, and basically save a lot of time. So we decided to basically start a new webinar program that will launch in July. We tried, to make it light, because we know that you guys are pretty much the busiest people in the organization. So we called it the TLDR series. And every session will be around 35 minutes long, and it will cover one or two topics, and it will be purely kind of walking through the product and showing you and guiding you how to do or how to use the product, so you can basically take the session and right after the session do it yourselves. And later on, we will break that webinar into snackable bites, and we'll upload it to a new section that we're working on the website, which will be called N2WS Academy. So you guys will be able to kind of make better use of the product, and pretty much make your life a lot easier. So this is upcoming. We picked up the first topic for you, so it's recovery scenarios, because we thought like this is the first one that is the most important one. So in the poll, you basically have the ability to affect the agenda of the next topics after recovery scenarios. So please vote, and we will try to make the best effort to order it by the importance for you. So yeah, so this is coming up. We're super excited. It's going to be me and Sebastian again. So yeah, so thank you, and vote, and we'll basically make sure that we address those topics next. All right. Okay, so moving on. We want to talk about today about version 4.3. We will cover 8 features that we have in this release. Obviously, this release comes based on feedback that we received from you guys. So a lot of the features are requests that you've put in. Some are not, but most of them are features that were requested by our customers. So I'm going to get started. Here we go. All right. So DR for DynamoDB. So we know you guys, some of you have DynamoDB, and this request came a few times. We did have same region restore, And now we're basically enabling the ability to do multiple region. Sebastian, can you shed more light a little bit about this request?
Oh yeah, sure, absolutely. So cross-region, cross-account disaster recovery for DynamoDB. Imagine you could copy your DynamoDB tables across multiple AWS regions and accounts with just a few clicks. It really simplifies disaster recovery setups because, well, having your backups in one region, one account, that's okay, that's good. But, we've been talking about worst case scenarios. What happens if an entire region fails? What happens if an entire account fails? I remember not too long ago, whenever we talked about what are you going to do if an account fails, people would usually go, well, that never ever happens. Remember, this has happened literally this year a couple times now with different cloud providers. So this is really very important to be able to perform disaster recovery backups for DynamoDB. It's really a growing following of customers who are using DynamoDB. And really simplifies the disaster recovery setup, ensuring that the data is protected against regional outages, malicious activities. I almost want to say it's like having an insurance policy for your data and that actually works when you need it, unlike some car insurances.
All right. How do we put a screenshot up here because it's a fairly straightforward than going into the product, right?
Yeah, this is something else that's really important. This isn't like a very difficult approach to do this. What you're seeing here on the screenshot, that's exactly what it is. It's one tick box, enable DR, and like magic, it's turned on. All you need to do at that point is just choose, well, what other region would you like to make the backup available and the ability to recover there. Same thing if you just go to the bottom of that screenshot where it says cross-account disaster recovery enabled. That's how easy it is. It's just a tick box. And then this is really very important because all the features in the world aren't going to do you much good if it's very difficult and complicated to deploy this. If you want that security, it's just a tick box.
Got it. Okay. Guys, feel free to ask questions on the chat right away. And we have very cool GIFs going on there, so make good use of them. All right, so let's move on to another one, and we'll kind of heat things up as we go with these features. And let's talk a little bit about time-based retention. And to be honest, and again, as I'm the new guy here, explain to me the difference between the generation-based retention and the time-based. Like, I'm getting confused with this.
That's a good question. So let's talk about time-based retention. So this feature allows you to retain backups for a specified time period, ensuring that your backups are only cleaned up after the chosen time period. It's like setting an alarm clock that only goes off when your data is ready for cleanup. No more, no less. Imagine setting your retention to, let's say, 14 generations, but you want to test some new software deployment. So the ever vigilant backup admin that you are, and this isn't the Wild West, I'm not saying I've done this before, of course you take a backup just in case things go awry. And then maybe you do it again and again and maybe again and a couple more times, and suddenly you're aging out your backups because they're being kept as a generation rather than a time-based backup. So that's really important as well. If you stop sharing your screen for 1 sec,
definitely.
I can actually show this.
Yeah.
Just so that everybody sees how easy it is to use that feature now.
So while you're doing it, so why would they use time-based again as opposed to generation-based?
Well, let me show you. So I'm going to share my screen. There we go. All right. So let me go to one of my backups. So lifecycle management. So this is my backup policy. That's my lifecycle management. So previously what we did is we had retention periods based on generations. The generation is defined by, when you go back to policy details, by your schedule. So I'm being super conservative. I'm creating backups once a day. So lifecycle management, 14 generations, okay, that's going to buy me 2 weeks worth of backups. But as I said, what happens now if I say I actually want to create an additional backup because I want to deploy something, and then I'm gonna trigger it again, because you can. So if you go back to policies, you select your policy and you do run ASAP. Okay, well, if I do this 5 times, well, guess what? Then I have 5 additional generations of backups. So if I'm only keeping 14 generations, well, in that case, eventually I'm aging out my backups. Well, that's no good. So now we have the ability to define time-based retention. And again, it's just a tick box. So you tick box here, and then you say, well, not only do I want to keep 14 generations, but if there's 15, 16, 18 generations, because I happen to click the perform a backup now ad hoc, then I don't want to clean this out. So in this case, I can say, well, yeah, I want to keep 14 generations, but if there's more, that's okay, because I want to keep a minimum of 14 days worth of backup. So even if there's more generations. So this really, and if you're thinking, it's a valid question, why would I need this? Because it seems like it's working. It just gives you far more flexibility. That's the nice thing. It makes you more flexible, and if you overwrite your policy for whatever reason, you create 3 additional backups today, this isn't going to throw this off. So you will retain the exact amount of backups that you want to retain. And this can work in tandem. So it's not just time-based. So you can say, well, I want to do both generations and time-based. That's really a big advantage to make it more flexible for you.
Got it. Thanks.
Sure.
All right. Okay, let's move on.
And I think I made you stop sharing. Yeah, right.
That's okay. All right. So now, okay, this is a big one. I think, we've seen a bunch of ransomware scenarios happening recently, and I think this has come up a few times with our customers. So kind of walk me through the ransomware angle for the immutability for S3 and EBS.
So yes, gosh, not a day goes by where I don't see something pop up on LinkedIn or all of my news feeds that something goes wrong. Just yesterday, everybody's been talking about the things that happened the last few days. Just yesterday, some software company which makes software for car dealerships in the United States, their entire service failed, and almost, from what I hear, between 80 and 90% of car dealerships in the United States couldn't sell you a car because their software wasn't up and running because, well, there was an attack on their service. So for those people focused on compliance and security, our new compliance mode immutability for S3 and EBS is really a game changer. This feature is more secure than the existing S3 legal hold protection, preventing even the root user from altering or deleting backups. And that's really what immutable means, unchanging over time. It's a time lock on your backups. Think of it as putting your data in a vault that even George Clooney in the Ocean's 11 can't break into. If you stop sharing your screen, I'll show our attendees how this works, because it's a really interesting feature. You really want to activate it. So we are still in the lifecycle management screen. So yes, I can choose how many days of backups do I want to keep, how many generations. And I know it's a theme now. It's the tick box theme feature. It's just a tick box. So all you do is, in order to turn this on, compliance mode for your snapshots, just turn it on. It's a tick box. So this will then make sure that for this duration of time, I cannot overwrite these backups. They're absolutely, completely prepared and protected from anybody accessing them and anybody modifying them. Now, something else that you can do is, again, it's not all or nothing. This is the interesting thing. So we just talked about disaster recovery for DynamoDB. Well, it's the same thing for your servers, same thing for your snapshots. So when you turn on disaster recovery for your regular servers, don't just double up. If you're keeping 14 days worth of backups, if you are in a disaster recovery situation, there's never going to be a time you're going to go back 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 4 weeks. This is really something, my most recent backups. So previously, we introduced the ability to differentiate between retention times for disaster recovery backups. But now you can also do this for your disaster recovery backups. So that means I could say, well, my most recent 3 backups, I want to keep them and I want to make them immutable so nobody can touch them. Why wouldn't you turn this on? Even if you don't turn this on for your regular operational backups, your disaster recovery backups, yeah, you probably want to put a lock on this. And that's how easy it's done. Just tick box 6 and make sure that that's actually the amount of time you want to keep. That's also why we introduced this over here. This tells you, yes, if you click save, then nobody, absolutely nobody, can then modify and delete those backups. And that's really important, especially if I make a mistake. And I'm going to put it on several years. But yes, don't do this. Think about what you want to do and then absolutely turn this on. I think this is something you were amiss if you wouldn't turn this on, because this is such an important feature. This will absolutely make sure that in compliance mode, nobody can touch your backups.
How can I see, like, how can somebody see, for example, how long is it locked, or, you know, what's the expiration date?
That's a great question as well. So under the reports, you do have the ability to extract reports based on the snapshot. So that's your AWS snapshot report. That's going to spit out in a report, which will then show you in that report what is actually the lock time. So this will tell you, okay, this is going to be locked for another 27 days, another 17 days. So the lock time of these backups is going to show up in the AWS snapshot report as well.
Got it.
And we also have compliance mode now for the S3 buckets. So previously we had regular immutability, and there's different features within the S3 object lock. So when you select, I want to archive the data into an S3 bucket for an extended period of time, this is how you set this up. So nothing has changed here. You just still define this is the S3 bucket that I want to use. And that's the button that you press, again, the tick box.
Mm-hmm.
And down here you can choose, well, what do you want to use? You want to use legal hold, which generally is good enough, or you're saying, no, I want to use compliance lock. Absolutely nobody can touch them. So this is how you would choose that. Again, it's a tick box, compliance lock, and you're safe. So that's for your archives. And the other one that I just showed, well, that is essentially for your snapshots. You want to make sure that nobody can touch those.
Okay. Tom is asking a question here. Is the lock set on the application level or the AWS level? Can you delete the backups directly in AWS?
No, the lock is set on the AWS level, which means that even if you have access to the AWS console, it's not good enough. It's not going to allow you to delete those. So even if somebody were a root admin of your AWS environment, they're not going to be able to delete those backups. So even if you have a ransomware attack, somebody takes control, somebody somehow becomes the root admin, it's not going to be good enough. They won't be able to touch those backups.
Got it. Do I need to do something like to create an S3 bucket or set an object lock in order to get this working?
Yes. So the way we worked with this is you create your own control of the S3 bucket, then you choose to make that bucket compliance mode, and then we honor that setting in the storage repositories. All you have to do is just simply choose that bucket, and then we define that setting over here and then set it to compliance lock. Nobody can touch it. But if you're saying, yeah, I don't want to set it for everybody, even the root admin, you could fall back on legal hold. But then again, why do this? So compliance lock, that's absolutely safe and secure.
Okay. Quick question on that topic we have in the chat. So with apply compliance lock enabled, what happens if somebody disables applies lock? Does that mean that somebody can delete the old backups?
No, compliance lock cannot be overwritten. Compliance lock can't even be overwritten by AWS itself. So if you contact AWS support and say, I made a mistake, I'd like to remove the compliance lock, cannot be done. It just cannot be done.
Got it. Okay. So what if somebody has, already cross-account backups? Like, does it give you the same security, or is it much more secure?
That is a good question. So yes, if you're thinking, it's really what we used to say, what we used to do. This was before immutability features. So yes, you could create a disaster recovery backup into a different account, and that's going to give you some security. There's some features within our products called SecureDR, which continuously monitors if somebody has certain permissions in the account. For example, somebody has delete permissions. It doesn't have to be the authentication method that we're using to get into the account. It could be any user, any role within the account. So this is pretty good security to have an additional backup in a different account, but compliance lock, it just takes it to the next level. This really gives you the ability to have a backup available in a different account in case I need to spin it up. In case something like with Google happened, my account got deleted just recently, super uni. But the compliance lock, that's really your ransomware protection. Nobody can touch that.
So basically, you can't delete the lock after it's locked. That's pretty much what happens. Got it.
That's right. It's like super glue. When you glue something at home and you glue your hands together, that's exactly how that works.
You're going to have to wait for a while.
That's right.
Got it. Okay. Perfect. Awesome. Thank you. All right.
Sorry, I'm still sharing.
Yeah, no worries. Okay. Okay, moving on. Okay, another fun one. Yeah, I know you like this one. The cross-restore, cross-cloud volume restore. Now this gives you like the extra care for ransomware to actually do DR to different cloud entirely, right?
That's right. So this is really, in my opinion, it's the super feature within the product. So our cross-cloud volume restore feature lets you restore volumes in Azure from AWS. So this ensures true data isolation and protection against ransomware, giving you flexibility and even, I want to say, prevent vendor lock-in. It's like having a teleportation device for your data. It's seamless and efficient, and it's true logical air gapping. So you can take your backups for compliance reasons and say, I don't want to store my backups in the same servers that those servers are already running in. I want to store it in a completely different cloud provider, and that is exactly what that is going to allow you to do.
Cool.
As a matter of fact, let me share my screen on this, because again,
go ahead.
This would probably show how easy this is. So when you go into a backup policy, all you need to do is just turn on lifecycle management. You're already doing this, so this is where you choose, well, how many backups do I want to keep? And if you want to store, so you can see, let me just go back so everybody can see, these are regular instances. These are regular AWS instances. And then under data lifecycle management, I can choose, well, I want to use storage repository. So I want to store the data either in an S3 bucket or, this is the big one, in Azure. And the way you choose this is target repository. You just choose your Azure storage. That's all you have to do. And then the data actually gets stored in Azure. And you can recover, and even if it's a server, customers usually really enjoy our flexibility to have file and folder level recovery, dive into those backups, recover certain portions. Yeah, you can do this. Even if the data is stored, the AWS data is stored in Azure, you can then access it from this console, and you can work with it completely as you're already used to. Now, the really big thing about 4.3 is not only can I store it there, that's my tick box, that I have my compliance, that I can say, yes, I'm not storing my backups in the same cloud provider. But now with 4.3, you also have the ability to actually recover those volumes in Azure as well. And it's really super easy. You just simply go into the backup monitor, and if you're familiar with our product, how to restore things, that's exactly how this works. So in this case, all I have to do at that point is just choose my backup that I created, and just recover it. So in my cross cloud, I have my backups, just click on recover. And remember, restore, this is where I can choose, well, where am I restoring from? I can either restore the data from my original or from my Azure recovery. And then it's going to say, yeah, sure. Do you want to recover this in Azure? Yes, you can. Then you choose your Azure subscription and which location, so which geographic location do you want to restore this in, and then just go ahead and restore it. It's very easy.
How easy?
You're calling me out. Okay, good. I like it. I like it. So it's very easy. So you choose.
You said easy so many times, so I had to call you out.
It's a good point. It's a good point. So you choose which one you want to recover. You can choose the resource group. That's all that internal Azure stuff, the availability zone, what encryption key you want to use, and just recover the volume. Now, once you do this, then you'll find that, hey, I now have a disk here. And the really interesting thing, I like this, is you can literally see, hey, that's a disk that used to live in AWS. So it will even show you which instance this disk belongs to. So this is where you see your disk. Now, if you're wondering, okay, now having a disk, that's great. It's alive and well, but then how do I bring this back to life? How can I actually use it? And gosh, I hope this works now because you're calling me out on this. So let me show you how easy it is. So I'll bring up a PowerShell. We have a little import tool here. There you go. And the resource group is, so all I have to do is I find which resource group this disk is in. So workloads, Azure workloads underscore group. All right, and the disk name, you find this over here, Ubuntu. And I'd ask, okay, so that resulting VM, that instance that you want to spin up, well, what do you want to call this? So let's be simple. I'm just going to call it Ubuntu.
Tony Stark.
Oh yeah, I love that. You know me. And then which OS type is this? Happens to be Linux, okay. And are there any data disks to be attached? No, there isn't one. Okay. And then what it does is, as you can see here, it now takes that data that started is live in AWS, and it then spins this up in Azure. The other thing, of course, is also if you're saying, well, yeah, but what about my network configuration? Well, good news is,
was about to be my next question, actually.
Because we already have the ability to capture network configurations. We have the ability to store that in a CloudFormation template because that's basically what AWS uses. But Azure uses Terraform. So what you can do is just go into Google, type in CloudFormation to Terraform. The first 12 hits are like free tools that will allow you to take a CloudFormation template and turn it into Terraform. Then I can use that information and then recreate my network configuration and then spin up that server over here. So as you can see, this now is running, takes about 2 minutes, 3 minutes, depending on the size of the machine that I'm spinning up. And then once that's done, is I then have that instance available within Azure. And that's really the ultimate, because now if Jeff Bezos wakes up tomorrow morning and says, hey, starting next week, everything is going to be 3 times the price, you can say, well, not for me, because I have the ability to use N2WS Backup and Recovery and then recover everything in Azure and just simply continue from there. So that's really an easy way of getting your data back into Azure.
Cool. I have a question here from the audience.
Sure.
What about if you have multiple EBS volumes in AWS side, but need to restore all of them on Azure virtual machines like we did for a single disk?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So as you can see, if you have multiple data disks which are attached to a server, you can just choose, okay, I want to spin this up and I want to attach all of these data disks in the process. So that's possible as well.
Got it. All right.
Oh, we're in the chat. I see. Yes, we have a Q&A. I keep looking at the Q&A, and that seems to be empty, but the questions are in the chat. Gotcha.
Here's another one just popped in.
So yeah, the question, when it says, yeah, you could use this as a migration tool, well, yeah, you could.
You could, yeah, theoretically, yeah. So the next one, how the encryption and decryption works in cross-cloud
It doesn't.
scenarios.
It doesn't. There is no way on earth that will allow you to take AWS encryption keys and put them into Azure. But the good news is when you recreate the resources in Azure, then yes, in that case, when you recreate the resources in Azure, then you can choose a new encryption key. Remember over here, when you go through the recovery, you choose your encryption key. So that's where you can then get the new encryption key from.
Got it. All right. All right.
So really, at this point, everybody should be doing this, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Does it have the same speed of your regular recovery? Like, or
that's a good question as well, because, well, yes, having the ability to spin something up, I mean, yeah, it's almost like a project, like the we just saw in the chat. So you could use this as a migration tool. Yeah, you could. Does time really matter if you're doing a migration? Probably not so much. But if I want to spin up resources really quick, yes, you can. So this is why it says restore from. You could keep your backups in AWS and then recover them in Azure. That can be done. But obviously that takes longer because you not only are initiating the recovery process, at that point, the other thing that you're doing is you're also initiating, let's copy my data into Azure. You can avoid this. You can avoid this if you're choosing as a storage repository Azure. So I almost want to say my disaster recovery backup is now not in a different account or a different region. Heck no, it's actually in a completely different cloud provider and a different geographical region. And I can spin up from there, and that's almost instantaneous because the data already lives in Azure. All I need to do at that point is just spin it up.
All right, cool. Thanks. Awesome feature.
That's right. So we just got, yeah, the light bulb is going on. Everybody is now thinking about it. I just saw it in the chat. So yes, you could use this as a migration tool.
Yep. Now, another quick question. Would that mean CPM can also be a migration tool from cloud to cloud? Yeah, again, theoretically, I guess, yeah. Yep.
I mean, that's really the question. This is why a lot of government resources that we work with, government institutions, they now have that coming down the pipeline, that compliance need. Yes, immutable backups, very important. But what's the next thing? Well, remember that 3-2-1 methodology? You also need
famous 3-2-1, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you need to keep them offsite. Well, that's not really offsite if it is in the same cloud provider, because that's your single point of failure. So having the ability to keep your backups in a different cloud provider, well, that increases your security tremendously.
Yep. Cool. All righty.
Let me make sure that you can share the screens again.
Yes. There's another question that popped up while I'm sharing the screen. Do you want to take it?
Oh, yes. So special, this is interesting. So as far as our tool is concerned, there is no special cost. And that's one of the things that I really always like to point out. N2WS has a completely fluid licensing structure. Whatever you're licensed for makes absolutely no difference if you're backing up resources in Azure, if you're backing up resources in AWS. Because, hey, backing up one server, that's your license. It doesn't matter where that server exists. And having the ability then to store the data in a different cloud provider, there's no additional cost other than, yes, there's always an other than the cloud providers themselves. So if you're storing your AWS backup in Azure, guess what? Azure is going to charge you for obviously the storage, and also having the data stored there. So there is an import fee. Interestingly, when you take a look at it, Azure is really trying to be a very very attractive storage facility. If you do the math, they have a different tier system. First 5 gigs are free, the next 50 are at a certain cost, the next 500 are at a different cost. If you take a look at it, if you take, let's say, like a terabyte, the storage and the transfer costs, getting the data into different regions, into different accounts, all of that, Azure actually comes out on top. Am I suggesting, yeah, store all of your backups from now on in Azure? No, it all depends on what you're trying to accomplish. But yes, as far as cost is involved, nothing as far as our license is concerned. It's really at that point just the different cloud providers.
Yeah, and Tom just made another good point about the egress costs.
That's right.
Yeah.
Unless
Yeah.
you're saying, this was actually just last month, I think. Something came down in the European Union that defines that neither Azure or AWS can charge you egress charges if you're saying, I'm leaving. So if you're leaving your entire environment, they cannot charge you. It's a one-way street, but yeah.
I would love to talk to someone who's done that, to be honest. All right. Okay. Tag Assist. So Tag Assist, we're basically boosting our Tag Assist capabilities. So, kind of walk me through this one, because again, the tags, and I know tags is a big thing. Part of what we're hearing from our customers, especially the ones that are not utilizing a lot of our product, underutilize the tags. So yeah, talk to me about that.
So tag recovery, that's a good question too. So with N2WS Tag Assist, you have greater control and customization when restoring tags. No longer are you stuck with a binary option. It's like, yeah, do you want to preserve the tags or not? It's like having a Swiss Army knife for your tags. So what I mean by that is you can use tags to differentiate what should be backed up. So we can collect resources based on tags. That's an old hat. Everybody's been doing this. And I can collect resources very effectively. Somebody spins up a resource, and then based on tags, we're going to collect those resources and put them into the appropriate policies. Now, we also preserve tags, which means whatever tags are existing at the resources, we preserve those. And when you recover it, magic, you're going to find all of those tags still exist there. Let me go ahead and share my screen. I just always like sharing and showing what this looks like. So with the Tag Assist now, what I can do is, let's stick with this. So I'm gonna, let's pretend I'm recovering a Windows server here. So click on Recover, then choose what you want to recover, click on Recover, and then you're gonna find this Tag Assist under the Advanced Options. So remember when I mentioned, we already have done this, preserve the original tags. Okay, and then I can use those tags, I guess, for whatever I need them in the target region, target account. But with the Tag Assist, I can also select custom now. And not only are we preserving the tags, but I can also add additional tags. You're probably wondering, why is this good? Well, so let's say I'm performing recovery, right? So what I could do is I could say, is that recovered? Yes. Easy to find now all of my recovered resources in a disaster recovery situation. So these are all recovered resources in a different region, a different account. And of course, you can add all kinds of, I can keep adding new tags to this. Is this a genuine one? Is this a recovered version? What's the cost center who's going to pay me for spinning up all of these different resources? So this really makes us far more flexible, because now with the Tag Assist, not only are we keeping the originals, but then we also have the ability to go one step further and make this really custom featured. These recovered. So if I say, yeah, this is recovered, have you ever thought about disaster recovery failover into a different region, a different account? Okay, everybody thinks about that. Have you ever thought about fail back? Because once the region, once the account becomes available again, how do I get all of my resources back into the original region? Well, this is exactly what's going to allow you to do this, because yeah, I'm just going to choose, I could make this even a date if I wanted to. So date recovered on that date. And then I'm going to find all of the resources in the target region based on that new tag, and then fail them back into the original region. This is really going to increase that flexibility.
Cool. Thanks. We have a question in the chat. What CPM backup? What would CPM backup? Everything on AWS, like SNS, Route, S3, etc.
So we don't back up every service in AWS. I'm going to be absolutely blunt. As a matter of fact, AWS has, I think, 192 different services.
Yeah.
And since this webinar started, I think they added probably 5 more services. So there's absolutely no way you're ever going to back up everything that they have. So we back up instances, volumes, RDS, Aurora, all of the different flavors, DocumentDB, Redshift, DynamoDB, Elastic File System, FSX, all the different flavors there are, and we even have the ability to sync S3 bucket. What's interesting is not only are we backing up the resources, but we're also backing up all the network configuration that goes along with it. So that's VPC settings, subnet settings, routing tables, security groups, gateways, VPN connections, you name it. All of that is going to be backed up as well.
And load balancers. Load balancers soon.
You're doing exactly what I was thinking about. Yes.
All right. So yeah, I'm moving on. So yeah. All right. So we have the the network interface cards. Yeah, I think this is kind of straightforward one. Am I right?
Yeah, it's if you need it, you have it now. So we added support for recovering additional NICs and secondary IPs during instance restore. And this ensures seamless communication between your restored instances and the network. Everything is perfectly connected immediately and ready to swing into action. So if you have servers, let's say a web server that has multiple NICs, then you can recover those and define what the IP address on those is. So it's a really nice to have feature if you do have servers that have multiple NICs.
Yeah, okay. All policy reports. Oh, wow. Okay, reports. Fun. Talk to me about that.
Well, reports. Everybody loves reports, right? Nobody loves pouring over reports more than I do. So for larger enterprises and I would say MSPs, our enhanced policy reporting now with the all policy report ensures better governance and compliance. It's like having an all-seeing eye over your policies. It's very centralized and it's comprehensive. Let me show this as well. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna show how this works because it's kind of sort of hidden. It's just another new report that we have that allows you just more insight. So you go to reports, immediate report generation. Of course, you can also schedule them. But the one you're looking for is AWS policies. Very unassuming, but extremely powerful. Let me show you what one of those reports looks like. So previously, I could run reports. What are we backing up? But this policy report literally contains everything. So of course,
Can you
you're
zoom in a little bit?
Oh, let me see.
At the bottom there.
You need a
bottom right corner.
You need a better monitor.
Oh.
All right. So you have the policies. Obviously, what's my schedule? That's nothing new. You already have that. But now what you can also report on with this, and you can see this just keeps scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. So how many backup generations? What's the DR generations? How many are we keeping? Are we actually keeping this in a storage repository? Yes, no. Are we keeping this in an Azure storage repository? Are we keeping this in AWS? So really, absolutely everything is there. If we are keeping it in an S3 based storage repository, what's the storage class where we're keeping this? And if we use multiples, well, exactly what are we using? So this is going to make reporting so much easier. Where are we going to put the data if it's cross-region, if it's cross-account? Well, you're going to see this here now as well. So this is just a wealth of information that you're going to see in one single report. It's just the AWS policies report. It really has everything in it. So this is something you want to have in your back pocket if you need to do compliance reporting.
Got it. And a question that very ties to it in the chat with regards to compliance. can it come with as a PDF version? Because Excel can be modified.
So some of the things that we have is a PDF report. Now, these reports here, what you can do is you do want to have them as an Excel sheet, just so that you can turn them into pivot tables. That's a good question. So how can I make sure that nobody can touch them? So this particular report, you probably want to have this as a pivot table. You wouldn't be too worried about somebody making changes to this. But if you want to keep the reports for safekeeping and you want to make sure that nobody can touch them, then what some customers do is they just create a distribution list on their Exchange server or whichever mail server they're using, and then feed those reports daily, weekly, monthly, however often you need to report on them, and feed them into that inbox that nobody can touch. So that's something else that you can do as well, which is actually an interesting one. I've seen that in one of the chats as well. The simple the notification service. So we did make some changes. So if you have the email configuration, previously we used the simple emailing service, and now you also have the option to use your own email service as well. If you're saying, I don't trust, for whatever reason, the Amazon emailing service, you can do that. Same thing also goes for the notifications. When you mentioned, that customers contact us, I want to say 70% of all the features in our product at one point or another were a glimmer in the eye of a customer. So it's always great to contact us and say, I would love to see this feature, that feature, whatever you want to see within the product. Talk to us. One of the things that came up was, okay, so we do have for notifications, something happens, something occurs, I need to immediately know about this. We had the SNS service, the simple notification service. A lot of people ask for exactly what you said. Well, how can I make sure that nobody can touch them? There you go. So you can also define this as your own SMTP server. If you want to use this, certainly you can.
Cool.
It's all about security.
Yep. Okay, we got one more to go. All right, and then we'll open for questions if there are any. All right, so the last one, again, I kind of hinted about it a couple of minutes ago. It's basically the ability to add, load balancers to your list.
And again, it's super easy, right? So when you go into your accounts, and that's what you're seeing here, the screenshot. When you go into your accounts, you can see the entire inventory of all of the network configuration that we're storing: VPC settings, subnet settings, transit gateways, VPN connections, you name it. And it's just another entry now under the capture. As you can see right there, it's load balancer. So your load balancers are now also captured as well. It's a really interesting feature.
Awesome. All righty. Questions, people? Feel free, write in the chat.
Yes. This is the time to ask all of your questions. Anything. Well, maybe not my deepest, darkest secrets, but anything else.
All right. Going once, twice. All right. Everybody said, but what is the release date?
Well, you want it soon? How soon do you want it? It's already available. So when you go into the marketplace.
Yeah. I actually brought up a good question. Thank you. How's the upgrade process? Like, is it a new AMI? Is it a patch? Like, how does it work this time?
Again, how do you want it? It's all possible. So it's already available. It's in the AWS marketplace. If you deployed our product in Azure, it's also available already 4.3 in the Azure marketplace. And if you're saying, actually, we just want to go the patch upgrade method, well, that's available as well. Inside, if you're an existing customer, inside the N2WS console, all the way at the top there, you find the envelope symbol. If you click on that, it's going to tell you, hey, there's a new version available. There's also a link. Just follow that link. It'll take you to the release notes, which then also shows you the upgrade process as well.
Got it. And does the patch upgrade Apache? Kind of following up on Tom's questions here in the chat.
Oh yes, that's a good one. So why would I ever want to EMI? So the nice thing about the EMI upgrade is that, well, it upgrades everything, including the underlying operating system, which in our case is Ubuntu. So Apache, all of the security settings. If you want everything upgraded, then go with the EMI upgrade.
Got it. And yeah, okay, so another question. I'm already now on 4.2.1. Is it possible to upgrade using the patch, or do I have to upgrade all, like the entire image? It won't break everything.
As long as you're on 4.2, 0, or 1, the patch is going to work just fine.
Perfect. Awesome. Cool. All right. Last but not least, so first of all, Sebastian, thank you, and I wanna thank you because it's been kind of my personal dream to have somebody to work with somebody called Sebastian, because I'm a big Sebastian Vettel fan, Formula One driver. So I always wanted to do something with a Sebastian. So yeah, thanks for making that come true. And yeah, last but not least, we have a raffle for those of you who stayed till the end. So we're gonna raffle you randomly because we have all your names in the raffle, and it's gonna come up in a second. And here we go. And go. And go.
There you go.
All right. All right, Vivek. Happy. Congratulations, Vivek. We'll be in touch right after the webinar. Congrats. And yeah, I want to thank you, everyone, for being here and staying to listen to this. Obviously, we'll have a recording. We're going to send it out for you. And yeah, thank you. And we're looking forward to bringing you some more good stuff. So feel free to reach out and talk to us and give us some feedback. Thank you, and have an amazing day. Bye.
Bye.